everyone, it's Nina. Thanks for joining me today. I'm going to be sharing a card featuring the picture book dies from Simon Says Stamp. I've got the snowman, Santa, and also the reindeer, and I'm going to be using these to create some fun focal points on my card using some fun die cutting techniques. So I'm going to start off by die cutting each of these elements from some watercolor paper 3 times. That's going to allow me to stack these together to create really dimensional pieces. And I really love the look. I think it looks really great with the watercoloring on top that we're going to be doing, and it also makes the elements a bit more sturdy. So I took all of those layers, I've got, like I said, 3 of everything, and I'm layering them all together to create dimensional pieces. And I'm not adhering anything together that does not layer. So for instance, all of the snowman pieces I'm keeping separate from like the scarf and the hat, as you can see here. I've taped them down onto a hardboard so that I can paint them. After I've painted them and they're dry, then I'll start adhering everything together. So to paint the elements, I'm using some Daniel Smith watercolors and a couple of Winsor & Newton colors. Most of the colors that I have in my palette are Winsor & Newton and Daniel Smith colors, and I really have been enjoying using the Daniel Smiths in my projects. One of my favorites is this Moon Glow color, which is a really dark black color, but it's got different variations of purple and blue mixed in depending on how it dries, and I really love the look. I also used a bit of permanent red, sap green. I also used a cobalt teal color for just the shadow areas of my snowman because that's going to help him look dimensional, because white is not just flat color, it has other colors in it. So because snow has a very cold color tone, I went with a bluish color for the shadows. On the reindeer, I used transparent brown. I really love that Daniel Smith color. And as I'm watercoloring these, I am putting down one layer, and I did go back over top of certain areas and put in a little bit more depth. I didn't go too crazy with the shading on these. I wanted them to be fairly flat images, so I didn't go too crazy as far as adding lots of shading, but I did add a couple layers of color on top of each of these elements. Now you're seeing me adhere these down onto some white panels of cardstock. I ended up changing my mind with this. I thought for a minute I was going to adhere them all down to the cardstock flat, but then I decided I wanted them to be a little bit more dimensional. So I trimmed them out of that white cardstock, which actually worked in my favor because I needed a backing for them anyway if I was going to make them dimensional. So I'm taking some Nuvo drops here first, and I'm adding some detailing onto each of the critters and the elements. I'm adding some eyes with the Nuvo drops, some noses on both Santa, the snowman, and the reindeer, and really just having fun adding these on top of my critters. I also added some of the glitter drops onto Santa's brim of the hat and also the pom-pom. So after that, I let those dry overnight. This is the next morning. And I'm bringing in the Fa La La stamp set from Simon Says Stamp to add some elements to the background of my panel, and I'm also going to use that stamp set and the coordinating dies to create my sentiment. I'm stamping the music notes in some pigment ink. This is black pigment ink from Simon, and the reason I chose the black pigment ink is because I want to heat emboss these with the Nuvo black glitter embossing powder. I did that for every single panel, and now with each of my little Santa and snowman and reindeer, I'm adding those down onto my cards using foam tape. So that's going to give me dimensional elements into the centers of each of these cards. Now with the reindeer, I did add the antlers down with some liquid glue because I felt they were so small that it was going to be easier, A, to trim them out and then adhere them with some liquid glue rather than trying to keep them all as one piece with the reindeer. So that's why I'm using some liquid glue for that. After I've added all of the pieces down onto my cards, I let those dry before I went ahead and added on some more elements. So here's a look at the cards so far. Now that I have these things adhered, I'm going to work on my sentiments. So the sentiments, I'm using some Die Cuts with a View glitter paper. This is the glitter pastels, and I love the colors in here. These are really actually bright. I was not expecting these to be so vibrant when considering it was called pastels. But I really love this glitter paper. Now it can be a little messy, but I'm not too worried about that. I'm using this glitter paper to cut a Fa La La sentiment using red, green, and blue. I'm going to use these on each of my cards for the top layer of my sentiments. Now for the red, it's a little bit more on the lighter side, and I want it to be more vibrant so it matched the coloring in my snowman. So I used some spray ink. This is Heidi Swap Color Shine in a red color. It's a nice bright red. And I'm spraying this Fa La La so it's a little bit brighter. Now you can use other types of materials to get this fa la la die cut with the red paper a little bit darker. If you wanted to, you could use ink blending and add that over top, or even a marker. But I find that using the spray ink was the best way to be able to add that color down, and it dried really quickly. So I went ahead and took that fa la la and layered that on top of 3 pieces of red cardstock, and in other cases I used both green and blue cardstock. But I basically was creating some dimensional sentiments here by layering some coordinating colors of cardstock underneath of the glitter sentiment that I cut out using that glitter paper. Then finally I took that entire stack of sentiments and layered that on top of the outline, which I cut using that same fa la la die set. There's an outline and the sentiment itself. So I adhered all those down, and I added something heavy on top to help hold that in place for a couple minutes. After it was dry, I took my scissors and trimmed off the excess after popping this up off of my card using 2 layers of foam tape. These cards are extremely dimensional, so if you're going to be mailing these, you're going to want to put them into a padded envelope, but I really love the look of them. They are so much fun, and you can always adhere all this down flat if you want to, if you don't want it to be so dimensional, but I am a dimensional kind of person. I love dimension, and the more the better. So I added a coordinating sentiment using the fa la la sentiment set, and then I also added some white detailing to my critters and elements on the centers of my cards. There's also some Lawn Fawn perfectly plaid Christmas paper behind each of my panels, and that really helps finish off the cards. So I hope you enjoyed this look at some inspiration for using the picture book dies from Simon Says Stamp. This video is part of the Justine Hovey 12 Days of Christmas blog hop, and if you are interested in winning some giveaways, be sure to leave a comment down in the video description below, and you'll be entered to win some of the amazing giveaways that Justine has as part of this 12 Days of Christmas celebration. Now, to qualify for this giveaway, you have to answer a question, and I've got a question for you. What is one of your most favorite Christmas stamp sets? One of my favorites, I actually have a few. You can name a few if you'd like. I have a few. I like the stained glass greetings that Simon just came out with as part of their newest release. That set is so much fun. It's so pretty. Another set I really have been enjoying is the Mary Poinsettia set from Studio Katia. I have a video coming up very soon with that particular stamp set, so stay tuned for that. And then a third stamp set I really enjoyed using that's a Christmas theme is Christmas Town from Sunny Studio Stamps. I love those sets. So if you're interested in any of those sets, I do have those linked below if you want to check those out. But I hope that you enjoyed this video and got some inspiration on using some of the new Simon Says Stamp picture book dies, as well as some other fun products and some fun die cutting and watercoloring techniques. Thanks so much for watching this video. I will see you again very soon with another one. And until then, thanks for watching. Bye!